Pats Nation, yesterday we saw one of the craziest, most intense joint practices that I have ever seen the New England Patriots participate in, man. We are talking about New England Patriots, Washington Commanders joint practice, recapping everything that happened. Now, your boy was there, okay? Your boy went to Boston. I was there for Tuesday's practice, the walkthrough, and then Wednesday's singular practice of joint practice. So everything that I'm telling you, I can confirm, deny. I mean, I'm going to give you some of my points, some of my observations, along with, of course, the professional, media put together version of notes also. So in advance, I'm sorry that this video is coming out a little bit later. We didn't get to do a live recap because, again, I was at practice, then drove about 6-7 hours back from Boston. If anybody has ever been to Massachusetts, Boston, Gillette Stadium, you know the traffic is absolutely insane. So unfortunately, this video was not able to drop yesterday. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. Starting off with guys that were absent or not participating during this joint practice. You had Kendrick Bourne, Caden Wallace, K'Lavon Chaisson, Braden Swinson, Jelani Tavai, and Christian Gonzalez. I feel like the majority of these were expected that they wouldn't be participating, especially Gonzo and Tavai. I would say for Kendrick Bourne, we did hear that he wasn't going to practice for the remainder of the week after he got a little bit rolled up on during the in-stadium practice. Now, it's interesting because KB said after that in-stadium practice that it was just cramps. But clearly, if you are missing this much of camp when you are not secured a job, you're fighting for one, clearly it wasn't just cramps. So, look, I'm not saying the writing is on the wall for Kendrick Bourne, but him not being at this joint practice will definitely go a long way and not in a positive way. I was really hoping to see K'Lavon Chaisson in this joint practice because he has been the player on defense throughout training camp, especially when the pads went on. So really would have liked to see what he looked like against an opposing team, especially an opposing team like the Commanders that have two pretty good tackles on each side. So we'll see him soon, but definitely someone I wanted to take a look at. And Braden Swinson was another one of those guys that I wanted to see. A guy who's a souped up edge rusher, more specifically good in pass rush situations, really good length to him. But both of those guys we just didn't get to see in this instance. Hoping we'll get to see them at least in some capacity when it comes to Friday's game against the Commanders. Now, as for guys that were there but were limited, you have Stephon Diggs, Morgan Moses, and Carlton Davis. Carlton Davis was there, but again, just in limited capacity. But still, nonetheless, the most we've seen Carlton Davis really all training camp long. Morgan Moses is starting to concern me a little bit, because he's been given a lot of veteran rest days. And originally it was just like, okay, well, maybe Mike Vrabel is giving him this time because he's 34 years old, right? He's been in the league for a long time. He knows expectations, but he's an injury-prone guy given his age. But then Mike Vrabel also was asked, well, Morgan Moses has been given a lot of veteran time. So is it that you're giving him this veteran time, or is it that he's also dealing with injury? And Mike Vrabel said it's a combination of both. So already it sounds like that big addition over at right tackle with Morgan Moses is already dealing with some type of injury. And then as for Stephon Diggs, look, it's a joint practice with an opposing team. You never know how hardcore they're going to go. You never know what's going to happen. You don't want to put him out in an atmosphere and potentially re-aggravate that ACL injury, right? Don't throw him out there making him 100% until week 1 of the NFL season, which is exactly what I think they are going to do. Obviously, it being a joint practice, it was a fully padded practice, high intensity. Stephon Diggs, I will say, did go late to practice. It seemed like for the first quarter of practice, he wasn't there. Originally, everybody listed him as an absent, and then he randomly appears. So don't know what that was about. Maybe he wasn't going to even practice first, and then he was like, you know what? No, I'm going to practice instead. So nonetheless, was still good to see him out there. I will say, too, it was either 11-on-11s or 7-on-7s. I can vouch for this. I saw this with my own eyes. I tweeted it out that the first play of either 7-on-7s or 11-on-11s, Drake May immediately goes to Stephon Diggs. I mean, Stephon Diggs has already been that security blanket for Drake May early on. And then Carlton Davis, like I mentioned, was more of a full participant for the first time this summer, especially with padded practices. We haven't seen him this active for the Patriots yet, but again, still was not that full participant. There were limited one-on-one drills during practice today, and then there were also a few small little fights. You had Kayshon Boutte against Marshawn Lattimore at one point. Kayshon Boutte was blocking, I believe it was for Travion Henderson during red zone drills. And I guess Kayshon Boutte blocked Lattimore so bad that they kind of started to scruffle a little bit at the end. Quickly was broken up. No punches were thrown or anything like that, but they did start shoving each other, and then a bit of a circle started to form around them. And then the biggest one, Okay, the biggest one that everybody is talking about is the dust-up between Travion Henderson and Von Miller, the edge rusher, one of the best edge rushers of all time there, now playing for the Commanders. It looked like Drake May, they were working in red zone drills. Drake May went to drop back. Travion Henderson stayed back to pass block, ended up taking Von Miller to the ground, okay? And for those who don't know, these are padded practices, but they're not live tackling practices, right? It's essentially two-hand touch for the most part. Sacks are would-be sacks. They're not actually taking the quarterback to the ground, but the rookie running back for the Patriots did not care. Took Von Miller right to the ground, and Von Miller, the veteran, did not respond well to that. Then you see Mike Vrabel. I mean, Mike Vrabel was right next to it when it's happening. Mike Vrabel really likes to be active within these practices, these live reps, as we've seen already throughout spring practices and summer practices, but he was right there when it happened. I saw this happen live. I saw it just develop in real time. It was the craziest thing. You know, Travion Henderson, Von Miller goes to the ground. You see Mike Vrabel immediately go down to his knees, dive to Travion Henderson and Von Miller, trying to break them up. Then you got Will Campbell coming around, trying to help his running back, trying to help his coach, accidentally swings and hits Mike Vrabel, man. Mike Vrabel gets up. He's in the bottom of this mosh pit at this point. By the way, these guys are wearing pads. They're wearing helmets. Mike Vrabel, he's not wearing anything. Mike Vrabel's got no pads on. Mike Vrabel's got no helmets on. But yet he's still at the bottom of the pile, gets up. He's bleeding, man. Just shout out to Mike Vrabel for trying to break that up as quick as he did, putting his team first, putting his players first, and just thinking of these guys. I mean, not even his Patriots players, but just thinking of the Commanders. These players in general, I think, goes a lot to the testament on how much of a hard-nosed football coach that Mike Vrabel is. Overall, the vibe of the day was that the New England Patriots came out as the better team. I said this on my collaboration with my boy Rio Robinson, a Commanders YouTuber, earlier today, and Commanders fans came at me a little bit. Okay, look, I'm not saying that the Patriots would have beat the Commanders in a real game, but at least for this singular joint practice, according to multiple media outlets, according to me that saw practice in real time, yes, the Patriots were the more consistent offense. Yes, the Patriots defense was more locked down than the Washington Commanders. I'm not saying that that's the end-all be-all. I'm not saying the Patriots are a playoff team. What I'm telling you is the reality. I'm telling you what happened. And the Patriots, they were the better team. The Patriots also had a couple of guests today, right? They had Patrick Chung there, Danny Amendola, Bon Jovi, Jason Tatum. They also had the McCourty twins. So let me tell you, it was a packed practice. I've never seen a Patriots practice that packed. To be completely honest, I'm not exaggerating this, but easily since Tom Brady was there. I mean, at least 10,000 people were at this joint practice. It was absolutely insane. The vibes were high. And like I said, the guests really showed out for New England. But getting into each position, starting off here with 11 on 11s, Drake May with a really, really good day. One of his best days of spring practices, not of spring practices, but of off-season practices, rather. 11 on 11s, he goes a 15 for 21. He did have an interception, but also 3 drops. So realistically, he should have been like 18 for 21 if his receivers don't drop the ball, but also the interception. The interception came right at the end of practice. I saw this happen, guys. It was not on Drake May, at least in my opinion. Like, maybe was there a better decision? It was seeing Bobby Wagner right there at the line, maybe, but me personally, I thought it was more of a freak play by Bobby Wagner, the veteran linebacker, one of the best to ever do it. Drake May passes the ball. Bobby Wagner times it perfectly, gets his hands on it. Ball flies up into the air. It's just an easy tip drill at that point for the Washington Commanders, who get an easy interception in the end zone, and that's why Drake May has a turnover. Overall, though, yeah, I thought he was very clean with the ball. I thought he was very smart with the ball and just made really good decisions. Josh Dobbs goes 18 for 22, and then UDFA Ben Woolridge just got no opportunities. Quite literally, he was back there the entire time, only taking mental reps. Moving on here to 7 on 7s, Drake May goes 3 for 6. Yet again, another drop from his receiver, so should have gone 4 for 6. Josh Dobbs also then goes 4 for 6. Drake May had a nice sequence where he spotted the Commanders were blitzing while he was under center, and Drake May at the line changed the play, put it into more of a different protection play, and then he hit Austin Hooper wide open for a good gain, looking off both of the Commanders' safeties. So really good job by Drake May, a high football IQ moment for him. This is going to be a different system than Alex Van Pelt was in last year, right? Instead of the center having a lot of those responsibilities, now it's going to be on Drake May. And the questions were, was that going to be something he was ready for? Based off of what we are seeing, based off of that play, I really think Drake May is ready for that. Now, Drake May later on also had a rushing touchdown. He had about 3-4 passing touchdowns through the air, but then on the ground also got into the end zone. Overall day, I thought it was strong for the offense. Not just Drake May, but just strong for the offense overall. Moving on to the running back, Travion Henderson did have a drop. It was a pretty bad drop that would have been a walk-in touchdown for him, but just couldn't reel it in. It was a simple check down from Drake May. He ultimately ends up dropping the ball. Travion Henderson also, though, had a nice gain on a toss play, and Antonio Gibson turned a screen pass into a touchdown that was also blocked really well. This is something that I tweeted out in real time during practice, too. Now, I will say that play with Gibson was with the second team offense, but they give him a screen to the outside, that speed, that elusiveness. It was red zone drill, so, it wasn't like a 40, 50-yard touchdown or anything, but working on red zone drills, that speed of Antonio Gibson allowed him to just jog right into the end zone because of how well it was blocked up front. And then moving on here to the wide receivers, a lot of notes here. Let's let me scroll down. But as for the wide receivers, Matt Collins and Drake May connected for a nice gain on a deep in-cut route. Ball was in contested catch territory for Matt Collins and also former Patriots cornerback Jonathan Jones. Collins and Drake May later connected on a deep ball where he slid between the defense for an easy big gain. And then Matt Collins later on also connected with Drake May for a touchdown in the back of the end zone where May rolled out of the pocket. Collins and Dobbs also later on connected for a 25-yard touchdown on a slant fade. I mean, this was a welcome to the New England Patriots type practice for Matt Collins. So for those Patriots fans who are like, is Matt Collins really going to make this roster? After today's practice, you should see exactly why he's rolling with that first team offense. Now, Javon Baker also beat Jonathan Jones today. Jones was deep and should have drawn a pass interference on Javon Baker, but it wasn't called by the refs. Patriots fans were not happy about that, man. I remember Javon Baker's getting up. He's throwing his hands up. He's waiting for a flag. Patriots Nation is booing, but no flag called on the former New England Patriots cornerback. Now, Baker later on had a touchdown grab on a slant route from Joshua Dobbs. He likely would have gotten a celebration penalty if it was in a real game. He threw the ball up in the air super high and was just waiting around a little bit too long in the end zone. But look, it was practice. Ultimately, no penalty was called. And then you also had Efton Chisholm, the UDFA wide receiver. He smoked a defender on a whip route for a solid gain. Later had another nice contested catch on a crosser. He had 5 catches on the day. There was also another play for these wide receivers. Kayshon Boutte beat Marshawn Lattimore in what looked like a comeback route. Now, it was either a go route or a comeback route. I have to look at it a little bit closer, but the Patriots actually posted the video, and I actually want to show it to you guys here. So you can see it, just a toe-tapping touchdown by Kayshon Boutte to make sure he stays in bounds. He's working on the outside. He's working on X receiver, and you can just see the play right here. Actually, let me make sure you guys can see it. Yeah, you guys can see it. Maybe I can zoom in a little bit. All right, let's have a replay here. So it looks like it's honestly just a go route. Kayshon Boutte pushes off of Marshawn Lattimore, the veteran cornerback, and toe taps right there on the sidelines to get the touchdown. Really, really good play by Kayshon Boutte. But getting back here to move on to the remainder of practice, moving on to these tight ends. Hunter Henry had a nice gain down the seam where he was wide open. I thought that the tight ends worked really, really well in the middle of the field, especially when it came to red zone work. Hunter Henry also later on had a touchdown on a slant from Drake May during those red zone drills. And then Austin Hooper also had a touchdown from Joshua Dobbs during red zone drills. And then G. Scott had a pair of catches from Joshua Dobbs with the second team offense. Right now, I'm not saying confidently that any tight end has won that third string job, but I would say G. Scott. That is the guy that I've heard the name most of throughout training camp. And as we get down to the wire, he's the name that we're hearing more consistently. A situation where it's not just what have you done for me lately or what have you done currently, but it's what did you do for me lately and what did you do at one point. Moving on to the offensive line, your first team O-line was exactly what I think everybody expects it to be. From left to right, you got Will Campbell, you got Jared Wilson, Garrett Bradbury, Mike Onwenu, and then DeMontre Jacobs with Morgan Moses out again. I don't love that idea. Okay, I do not love the idea of DeMontre Jacobs being the backup right tackle. I don't love the idea of him being the swing tackle. You have Vidarian Lowe back into the mix. And I know he hasn't been here for a lot of practices this offseason, but now that he's back, let's give him looks. Let's see what he could look like with the first team offense, because I am telling you that DeMontre Jacobs is not the best backup tackle on this current roster. There's just absolutely no way. But moving on to the second team offensive line from left to right, it was Bryant, Strange, Brown, Robinson, and then Conley. And then your third team offensive line was Vidarian Lowe, Butler, Lindstorm, Robinson, and then Moses. So looks like Vidarian Lowe so far repping with the third team offense. We'll see how that changes. We'll see how the preseason looks. But if he doesn't make his impression, then there's a real world where DeMontre Jacobs is your backup tackle. He is your swing tackle. And Vidarian Lowe just doesn't make this roster outright, which again, I understand one guy has been more available than the other, but that just does not make sense to me from an overall talent standpoint. Now, we didn't get a lot of one-on-ones today, like I said, but we did get some. And in those one-on-ones, we saw Will Campbell go 1-0-1, meaning that he won one of his reps. He didn't technically lose a rep, but he technically tied on a rep, which I don't know how you're tying on reps, but that's what was reported by the media. Jared Wilson is perfect. He goes 2-0 on his wins there. Bradbury goes 0-2, so not a very good day for him. Onwenu goes 1-1. Jacobs goes 0-2. So again, backing up what I just said, and then Bryant goes 1-1 also. Will Campbell looked really, really good during team periods. No noticeable issues. He had a really good rep where he put former Patriots edge rusher Dietrich Wise on the ground. I mean, Dietrich Wise was giving him praise after practice too. There was one point where it was a little bit controversial. Did Dietrich Wise beat him on a play or not? But still, Dietrich Wise has some of the best length out of any edge defender in the league. And, you know, for Will Campbell having short arms and that being the narrative around him, that, you know, these D linemen with longer arm length, he's going to struggle against those guys. We did not see that today against Dietrich Wise. Now, Ben Brown did have a series where he was the first team center today over Garrett Bradbury. So Garrett Bradbury is trending in the wrong direction. There might even be a world where even if Jared Wilson is your starting left guard, Garrett Bradbury still might not be your starting center. Like, that might be a real competition where, all right, Jared Wilson, you're the starting left guard, and now there's a true battle between Ben Brown and Garrett Bradbury. You also had Marcus Bryant, the rookie. He had stepped in for a moment when DeMontre Jacobs had a couple occasions where he was dealing with a little bit of a rough period. Again, I would like to get a better look at Marcus Bryant. This is a guy with versatility at right tackle, versatility at left tackle. You obviously drafted him. He's younger. If he wants to be the backup swing tackle, I mean, as long as he can hold his own, which I feel like we're seeing him do pretty well, I'd love to see him get more opportunities. Now, moving on to the defensive line, sacks today, at least what would have been sacks in a live game. You had Christian Barmore and Harold Landry, both with sacks. You also had Elijah Ponder, the UDFA edge rusher, with 2 pressures, and Christian Barmore with 1. The interior of the D-line 8, Milton Williams getting to the quarterback, Christian Barmore getting to the quarterback. Kyrie's Tonga, the nose tackle, the former Arizona Cardinal, that really nobody's talking about. He has a pretty good bull rush, right? Like, he was pushing the pocket there for the Washington Commanders interior O-line and getting some pressure. He's a guy that was brought in to mainly be a run stuffer, but he's going to make this roster as a depth pass rusher also. Really, really good day for him. Overall, like I said, those guys that I just listed showed out really well, not just in 11-on-11s, but also showed out really, really well in their one-on-one matchups too. Harold Landry also had a very, very active day. Like I said, he had that 1 sack, but he also had a lot of moments where he was putting pressure on the opposing quarterbacks. And then you also had Joshua Farmer. He stood out a little bit more today than we've heard. When we got to the end of spring practices, the beginning of training camp, we heard that the rookie defensive lineman was showing out a bit. He got a little bit silent, but today he picked things up a little bit more. Nothing about the linebackers. Moving on to the cornerbacks, Alex Austin, man, pass breakup today. Miles Battle, pass breakup today. And Kobe Minor, pass breakup today. I thought Alex Austin was locked down. Where I was sitting for this joint practice was right on the hill, right in the end zone. So I saw everything perfectly. And Alex Austin was shut down from what I saw. Really, really, really good rep against, name is escaping me right now. I want to say it's Connerly, something like that. One of the wide receivers for the Commanders. And you had Alex Austin with a really good pass breakup on him. Tight coverage, but Alex Austin played the ball really, really well. Last second, rips the ball out for a pass breakup. And Kobe Minor, Mr. Irrelevant himself, had a pretty similar play later on in practices during red zone drills too. Marcus Jones had a sack. Alex Austin and KJ Osborne went at it a little bit after a rep. So, hey, current Patriots cornerback, former Patriots wide receiver going at it a little bit. You know, those guys have experience with each other from last year. Alex Austin had a defensive pass interference, unfortunately, on the play. So that was like the one moment where Alex Austin didn't exactly perform the way you wanted him to, but overall, I thought good day for him. As for the safeties, Kyle Duggar got beat by Zach Ertz on a crosser for a good gain. Duggar and Ja'Cory Brooks, that was the wide receiver that Alex Austin had really good coverage on that I couldn't name like 2 seconds ago. But Duggar and Ja'Cory Brooks had to be separated after a play. I would say that there wasn't a whole lot of losers for the Patriots on the day, but Kyle Duggar was one of them. He was without a doubt a loser on the day. I mean, there was one player that was eating this Patriots defense alive play after play, and it was Zach Ertz, the veteran tight end, just killing the Patriots in the middle of the field, gain after gain after gain, getting the ball short to intermediate and going down, getting the ball short to intermediate and going down. And it was the same guy defending him, Kyle Duggar. You know, Greg Bedard, about a week or two ago, said that Kyle Duggar could be a potential surprise trade or cut. And after today's practice, he might have a point. As for special teams, field goal attempts today, you had Andy Borgales go a perfect 4 for 4. John Parker Romo goes 3 for 4. Romo missed from 39 yards. So Andy Borgales wins for joint practice, but that kicker competition isn't over just yet. Your punt returners on the day were DeMario Douglas, Efton Chisholm, and Marcus Jones. And then the Patriots kickoff coverage reportedly did struggle at times today. We haven't heard the Patriots practice the whole kickoff rule a whole lot in practice, so that could be why. But it feels like for the remainder of practices leading up to week 1, that is something this team is going to have to hammer down, is those kickoff duties. But guys, that is going to wrap it up here for New England Patriots versus Washington Commanders joint practice, the lone day of joint practice. This is where I kick it off to you guys. What are your thoughts? What are your takeaways from everything we just listed? Let me know in the comment section below. Remember to leave a big like on the video. And of course, subscribe to the channel for all your New England Patriots news, man. We will be live tomorrow to do a live watch party, a recap of tomorrow's preseason game against the Commanders. Make sure you guys follow all the social media links below that are pinned right on that little ticker there. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all that good stuff, releasing more Patriots content that you guys just don't get here on YouTube. But as always, my name is Colby Cochran for Patriots Global. And as always, go Pats.